Tension builds across the world. After a failed attempt to recover toxic gas from a Russian compound, the American government employs the help of one Captain Jonathan Price of the SAS in order to recover the gas and unravel the conspiracy at hand. With Sergeant Kyle Garrick at his side, as well as the company of Alex, Farah and Hadir, they will stop at nothing until the gas is secured and the scheming masterminds behind this attack are defeated.
Tone is an essential part of storytelling. It's the very thing that gives every story its feel. Whether it's a feeling of happiness, sorrow, or fear, the reason for these feelings is tone. The reason the intro to this video is the way it is not only because it's a homage to Call of Duty 2 Big Red One, which was my first Call of Duty game, but it's also to show how the tone of the series has changed over the years. The original 3 games and the respective spin-offs had this tone of a fun yet still serious war film. And once the series adopted the Modern Warfare subtitle, the tone shifted into something akin to The Rock. While there are moments that are definitely dark, the overall tone is quite over the top. The series would carry this tone for a long time. In 2019, it was revealed that the next title would be a rebooted version of Modern Warfare. They even did the thing that companies love doing, where they name it the same exact way the original game was named. Despite this being the case, the debut trailer had a completely different tone from what the franchise had been known for a long time. The series had gone from The Rock to Zero Dark 30, a story that would take itself 100% seriously. The subject matter would be something that wouldn't hold up in an action movie where the main characters are big, tough men, spouting one-liners every 5 seconds. In order to tell the story that Infinity Ward wanted to tell, they would have to change the tone. Not only did Infinity Ward change the tone of the series, they also had to redefine the characters of the original games. The characters in the original 3 Modern Warfare games always acted like they came straight out of action movies of the 80s and 90s. This wasn't necessarily a bad thing, as I'm someone who loves to indulge in that type of entertainment. But when crafting the world of the new Modern Warfare, Infinity Ward had to look at each character and see how they would translate to a more realistic setting. The 2 main characters that returned from the original games are Captain Price and Gaz, and it wouldn't be Modern Warfare without Price. Price this time around is a bit younger than how we were introduced to him in the original game. Even though he's younger, he still has that feeling of being the experienced mentor. But this version of Price still does feel different. Barry Sloan gives a performance that's a lot more quiet, but also a lot more intense. He only gets heated when the situation calls for it. In the scenes where he talks to his fellow colleagues, he comes off a lot more soft-spoken, something the original Price never really had. He always felt like he was dialed up to 10, even in the scenes where there wasn't a whole lot of combat going on. When it comes to Gaz, it's a lot more drastic of a change. Gaz in the original Modern Warfare was a character that never really had a huge presence. On top of that, he dies at the end. So, Gaz is a much more prominent character in this game. I think it was a smart idea to give him a part of the spotlight, especially since one of the inciting incidents in this game directly affects him as well as Price, which is the reason they end up meeting. The relationship between him and Price is what I consider to be one of the game's brightest spots. Price finds Gaz in an angry and broken state. Gaz just witnessed a horrific event in the heart of his home. He's lost, and he wants blood. The core of the story revolves around the rules of engagement. In the Piccadilly mission, Gaz is instructed not to shoot at the terrorists until they are confirmed to be a threat. And right when the threat is confirmed,
Make no mistake! Not gonna tell you again! Suspect.
It's too late. This compels Price to transfer Gaz into his unit. Price sees something in Gaz that maybe reminds him of himself when he was younger. The lesson that Price eventually teaches Gaz is that in order to get the results he wants, he's going to have to go to dark places to get them. But he also teaches Gaz that he has a choice.
Kyle, you don't have to do this. You in or out?
I'm in, sir.
Good.
Gaz wasn't forced to get his hands dirty, but Price gave him the offer. It's a pretty interesting angle that Infinity Ward decided to go with. In previous games, you would shoot at everything that moved without thinking twice about it. But in this game, you have orders, and you can't break them. It sets a precedent for the game that you're always thinking twice before you pull the trigger. The game throws a lot more civilians your way, which is something the series doesn't do very often. The last time I can think of a Call of Duty game doing something with civilians is Modern Warfare 2, and we all know what happened there. It feels like cheating referring back to Piccadilly, but it just goes to show how good this mission is. The entire mission is extremely tense. Sometimes the enemies can blend in with the civilians, and if you end up accidentally shooting a civilian, it feels awful. This mission teaches you to think before you shoot. Hell, there's even a trophy that you can get, which I also got by the way because I platinumed the game, by not shooting and killing a single civilian in this mission. This is the mission that teaches you how to play the rest of the game. Assess the situation and shoot accordingly. Speaking of shooting...
Got him.
This game plays like an absolute dream. Call of Duty has always felt really good to play. That much is for certain. There's a reason why these games are always the best-selling games each year, and that's because it feels really good to shoot these guns. Even in the worst games in the series, those guns always feel just right. For this new game, Infinity Ward decided to make a new engine, and with that comes changes to the way guns feel. Each gun, from the biggest rifles to the smallest handguns, have a ton of kick to them, but the kickback of each gun never gets in the way. It always feels natural. You're never fighting with the recoil. You're always working alongside it. A weapon that I have to highlight and award as the best weapon in the game is the pump-action shotgun. The sound of the pump. The kickback from the recoil. The fucking kick-ass reload animation. It's all perfect. This goes into the history books as one of the best shotguns in video games. No question.
That's cool, boys.
All the reasons why this shotgun works so well can be applied to every other gun in the game. Every gun has a unique sound and feel. This revamp of the weapons really cements this game into the setting that it presents. If the guns had felt the way they did in the older games, I don't think they would have hit as hard. And I think this is why I claim this game to be a masterpiece. I do overall really like the story and where it takes the series, but it's the polishing they applied to the gameplay that I think makes this game a masterpiece. I know that's a big claim, but I must clarify that I believe a masterpiece does not equal perfect. I do not in any way think that Modern Warfare is a perfect game. Hell, I don't think a perfect game exists outside of Tetris. But there are plenty of games that are extremely well executed, and I think Modern Warfare sits perfectly in that category of game. I wanted to take this segment to address some of the other things in the game that I liked or disliked. I like Farah and Hadir and their quest for revenge. Their flashback mission where you play as a young Farah traversing through a completely war-torn Urzikstan is a highlight. The part at the end where Farah has a revolver and it controls like how a little girl would use a gun like that is perfect. The mission Clean House is easily the best mission in the game. A super tense and quiet sweep of a house located in London that tests your trigger discipline. Some enemies are obvious and some aren't as clear until they go for a weapon and try to attack you. One of the trophies associated with this level is taking out every threat with one bullet for each target and without getting hit once. But one of the parameters for this trophy that's not explicit is the fact that the game doesn't count any of the NPCs as a threat until they grab a weapon. So you really have to keep an eye out on who poses a threat or not. Something that I like about the game that I don't see too many people address is the use of fan service. They could have very easily filled the game to the brim with nothing but fan service, but they show a lot of constraint and leave all that stuff for the end. A lot of media nowadays rely on fan service, and I'm pretty happy that the writers only use previously established characters when necessary. One thing I really didn't care for much was the main villain of the game, Barkov. He's not what I would call a memorable villain, but he serves his purpose and promptly dies at the end. And I think that's where the game's weaknesses start to show. All the villains the game presents are rather one note and don't really have anything super interesting about them. One of them does provide the game with one of its more shocking moments, but I'm not so sure the moment is earned. Despite this, all the villains are still very unlikable, and that always makes for good target practice. Something that this game, and honestly what most Call of Duty games are good at doing, is having great pacing. The game never wastes your time, and just when a level starts to feel like it's getting old, they throw a new mission your way. Great stuff. Overall, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019 is the game the series needed at just the right time. Just when the series felt like it was starting to feel stale and struggling to feel fresh, Infinity Ward made all the right calls to make a game that feels new while also respecting what came before. Not everything comes together in the end, but I would say 90% of it does. This is the best feeling game in the series, best sounding, best written maybe. So much of what Infinity Ward did just clicks. With the sequel to this game right around the corner, I'm more excited than ever to see what they have improved upon and what new things they have added to make the experience better. Hopefully the story lands and each character feels fleshed out in their own way. But I guess for now, we'll just have to wait and see.
What are you calling this task force?
141.